All right, so I'm going to show you guys how to draw your winter cardinal. You want to have a pencil that's relatively sharp, and you want your paper going horizontal like how I have it on the screen. Now when you're drawing, you do want to draw lightly to make it easy for you to erase. If you press hard, it can be difficult, and we'll be having to erase certain parts of our picture. So we're going to start by drawing the first cardinal, and we're going to be making a circle-ish shape. So I'm going to start just by making a circle up in the top part. You want to keep your circle relatively big, so you end up with a larger cardinal. If you happen to make your first cardinal too small, that can always be your little baby that you can add in. So I'm going to make my circle shape. It's okay if it's not perfectly circled. You can see mine is not. All right. I'm going to zoom in a little bit now that you can see the whole page. I'm going to make a less than symbol on the inside. And then the top of that less than symbol, I'm going to take it and curve it out and down. Now the bottom of the less than symbol, I'm going to connect over to the other side of that triangle. All right, and then I'm going to gently erase out the inside of the beak. Now starting from the center of the less than symbol, I'm going to make a line that kind of comes out and connects to the end. And there's our three-dimensional beak. Remember, if I'm going too fast, you can always hit pause and rewind later. And let's put an eye in for our cardinal. Now, cardinals only have an eye on the side of their head, so you only have to draw one eye. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Now I'm going to draw another circle on the inside, along with a little highlight. And this part, if you want to shade it in, you can shade it in darker. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is to make our cardinal's head. Now, cardinals have that trademark pointy head. It's poofed with feathers. So I'm going to take my line up and curve it upwards. And the back of my feather, the back of the head, I'm going to make kind of like a zigzag, suggest some feathers. Now, if you look at it, it looks a little bit funny with the circles, so we're going to get rid of that. So it's all connected. Great. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to draw our cardinal's stomach. So I'm going to start up here under the neck, and I'm going to make a backwards C shape. This is going to be for the stomach. So I'm going to curve around and down. And then I'm going to make a slight curve upwards where the bottom of the stomach is going to be. Now we're going to follow a similar curve for the wing shape. So starting a little bit towards the middle here, I'm going to curve this down. I'm going to extend it past where I ended my body. And then I'm going to curve this back upwards towards the head. I'm going to next erase part of this so it looks like it's again attached. So sometimes starting off with basic shapes is a lot easier than trying to draw the whole entire edge all at once. All right. What we're going to do next, we're going to add the black mask that cardinals have on their face. So I'm going to start above the eye. I'm going to bring a line up and over as it points upwards. And then I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to connect it under here. It's almost like a little bit of a bib for the cardinal. Starting to look a little better. And then we're going to add some tail feathers onto our cardinals. Now, cardinals have really large tail feathers actually to help them balance. And I'm going to make a diagonal line coming out. and diagonal line coming out from this side. Now your tail feather might end up going off the page if your cardinal is pretty close to the edge. I'm going to make almost like an upside down heart on the bottom. And the main cardinal's tail is kind of split into two larger sections with some smaller feathers, which I'm going to use like a letter U, just to add a few suggestions of a few feathers in there. Alright, now speaking of feathers, we're going to start to add some feathers into the wing. Now we're going to start by making just a few suggestions of feathers by making some U's. So the U's should be connected. Now the next row of feathers are going to go from one peak of the feather to the next. Now my next row, I'm going to start to make slightly longer. So I'm going to almost like a little bit of a J or a U, whatever you want to use, just start to stretch them out a little bit longer. This will come like that. All right, now my last row, I'm going to make them a lot longer yet. So they're going to come almost all the way down to the edge and just kind of curl in. You can have more rows of feathers than what I did. I have just 4 rows. I wouldn't make them too tiny because it gets a little more difficult to draw and trace later. All right, next thing we're going to do, we're going to give our bird a branch to stand on. Yes, I know we don't have feet yet, but we'll get there. So I'm going to make one line coming across. I'm going to stop as soon as I hit my tail feather. Now, if you want the branch to go in front, you can go right over the top of it and just erase that out, but I'm going to put my branch going behind. You could have it going all the way across. You could have your branch end. Now, branches where they connect to the tree, they are going to be thicker, and then they work their way towards away from the main branch. They're going to get skinnier. So I'm going to have connect right there. All right, now for the feet, think of using like a letter C. I'm just going to draw the little feet and erase a little part where my feet are going to overlap my branch. So I'm going to start by making a backwards C and then kind of curve it up and around like another C next to it and another. So I'm making 3 almost banana shapes. So like he's cooking his little feet around. Same thing here. So the first one comes up and curves around. Now if your branch is really thick, it might not go all the way around. It's got 1, 2, 3. Now keeping them curved is going to make it look like the branches, the feet are going around the branch. And I'll just add a little bit of a branch that might be going there. Now my first leg, I'm going to have it connect. It's almost like a little bit thicker where it connects, and I'm going to have to erase part of the body here where it's overlapping. Now the other leg we're going to have behind the body, so you're not going to see the top of it. If you're going to make a few little tufts of feathers, you can put a little tuft of feather like that. All right, the next step, we're going to add a few branches. So I'm going to add some branches coming up. And as they get further away from the branch, they get closer and closer until they kind of touch. And make another little branch coming out. Now we'll be coloring these in later, but if you want to erase it out so it's attached, you can do that. Like another branch coming down. So let's add a few branches for some visual interest, so it's not just a stick floating. Some people added a trunk over here. You can decide how you want to design your branches. All right, you might also add some leaves. If it's in the spring, there might be fresh leaves. If it's towards fall, they might be brown leaves. Maybe they have a few chunks missing out of it. Now, after you have your main cardinal drawn with some branches and some other interesting things, try to think of some additional items to add. Now, I'm going to quickly drop in a bunch of items that I made. I made a little nest with some baby birds, some more branches, a flying cardinal. Some people made this a springtime picture with adding caterpillars or berries or whatever you want to add into your picture. Some people have made bird houses in the distance. So continue to draw some interesting things. At least give your bird a friend so he's not alone in the picture. And this would be the first step, is getting it all drawn out. After you complete drawing your picture, you can take a black Sharpie and carefully go over your lines with your Sharpie so that way we can get edges all dark.